Well, good afternoon, friends. It's Richard here again, and I was just spending some time out here this afternoon, out by my fire pit, and um, we had a wonderful service this morning. Really contemplating John chapter 12, and really looking at Mary and the worship and adoration she had for the Lord. And I had some time this afternoon afterwards, and I just felt like coming out here to my fire pit, and this has really become a place of really good solace and kind of peace and rest for a minute, even with a little noise around, neighbor cutting the grass close by, but that's okay. I can kind of deal with all that, and because I love having this opportunity and this space out here. And it's interesting. I was really contemplating that idea of just what it looks like to really have just complete adoration and worship and trust in the Lord in all that we do and everywhere, and really following and trusting Jesus. And we're again, it's no secret we're in a pretty crazy time, and I've talked about that a good bit about just how much craziness is enveloping us and everything, and what that can do to our hearts. That's been, in some ways, I have a lot of hope and really eager to see what happens in the body of Christ as we come on the backside of this virus, and really seeing how people are really standing up and rallying and care for one another through all of this. But at the same time, I worry about people's hearts, because there's a lot of fear that permeates through all this, whether warranted or not. What does all this mean for me and everything? And so I was out here just kind of thinking about this for a little bit. How is God present in your life in these moments of just complete trial and struggle and tribulation and difficulty, and how is he helping us navigate through all this? I opened my Bible, and I was just asking God, what do you want to say to me through all this? And it took me into the Psalms. It took me into Psalm 139 actually, and specifically Psalm 39, 17 and 18, where he says, "How precious are your thoughts about me, O God." This is out of the New Living Translation. "How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. And when I wake up, you are with me." And I was really just contemplating those verses, and really what God was saying and all that. And Psalm 139 is a great chapter, a great psalm to really break down and really understand the intricacies and the uniqueness of that each of us hold as image bearers of God. And he also took me to Psalm 16, verses 7 and 8, where he says, "I will bless the Lord who guides me. Even at night he instructs my heart. I know the Lord is always with me, and I will not be shaken, for he is right beside me." And guys, this was really spoke to my heart in a lot of ways, because when you see so much confusion, so much fear, and so much chaos gripping this nation, gripping the world, actually, it's easy to stop and ask, where is God in all this? What is he doing? How is God at play in all this? And friends, I really want to encourage you again. I want to say to you that God is always right there with you, that he is always there. And that's really, I feel like, what he was saying to me this afternoon, and I was really pondering these verses in the Psalms. "How precious are your thoughts about me, O God." Other translation says, "How precious how precious to me are your thoughts." God doesn't just think about each one of us at random times, just at happenstance. Each of us as his children, he's thinking about us always. In every moment of every day, he is always there for us. He is always there pursuing us, each one of us individually. That's pretty special. That's pretty unique. He knows each one of us. He knows each of the hairs on our head. He knows every bit about us. And in the psalm where it says, you made all the delicate and inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. He's always been there from the very beginning with each one of us. And so I just really wanted to stop and kind of share that word with you all this morning or this afternoon, of just how special this is, of really having God's presence in our lives, in our hearts, in each moment. Friends, and one of the things that's very easy to do, and I don't know how many of you do this, and I've even been guilty of this, and I'm really doing my best to work on this, because this isn't a discipline that I have mastered by any stretch of the imagination, is when I wake up first thing in the morning, what am I doing with that time? One of the things, I love to get up and I sit and have a chair. I sit in my living room and just spend time doing some reading through some devotion, some scripture, and spending time really talking with God. I'll walk around outside my neighborhood and really spend time in prayer and all that. But those first few moments when I wake up in the morning, one of the easiest things to do is to grab that phone that sits next to me at night and look what notifications came through in the middle of the night. What's seeing the breaking news, Facebook posts, emails, all that stuff that's running all through the night, because those phones are always on, always going. And it's very easy to pick that up and really jump into that technology because it's right there at our fingertips always. And I think that's part of the issues we're dealing with right now, with why some of the fear has been drummed up to be more heightened than it is, because it's right there at our fingertips. And when he says in the Psalm, in 139 verse 18, he says, when I wake up, you are still with me. When I wake up, you are still with me. So if God's there with us, if he's there in those first moments when we wake up, and in Psalm 16, when he says, let me find it here again, even at night my heart instructs me. It's verse 7. That God's always speaking to us, even while we sleep at night, and even in the first things in the morning when we first get up. So what are we doing with that time? How are we redeeming those first moments of the day? Because it's when, and I'll just say this from personal experience. When I get up in the morning and I use that time, the first thing I do is grab that phone and look at my notifications, look at my emails, and or anything. My mind has already been consumed. There's already other things that have consumed my thoughts, so that when I do try to sit down and spend some time really contemplating God, it's already clouded, because there's already something that's already tried to that's arrested my attention away from God in those first moments. So trying to gain that back makes it harder. So if God's already there with you first thing in the morning, what stops us from those first moments when we wake up and just turning to him immediately when we wake up? And I know I have some friends that have really developed some good habits of doing so, of just spending time with God first thing in the morning, of really, when those feet hit the floor, just saying, good morning, Father, good morning, God, and talking to him right off the bat. And again, I will honestly admit that it's a discipline that I'm still working on, because I'm not always the best at it, but I can tell how God is central in my day based on what I do with those first moments. Whether you're a morning person or not, some people say they're not morning people, some say they're not, but you can still make the best use of those first moments of your day. So again, friends, I really just wanted to spend some time this afternoon and really talk to you about that, and really talk to you about this is something that God placed in my heart to really think about. And it goes a long way to, as we were talking about, as our pastor was talking about in the sermon today, of complete adoration and worship of God. How do we make the most of our days and our time when God is always present with us, no matter what's going on? He is always there with us. So if he's there with us in every moment, how do we make use of our time to make sure that we are also present to Him. It's a two-way relationship, y'all. It is a two-way relationship that we all need to work on. And again, I'm still working on it. So that's all I really wanted to share today, is really just spend some time really contemplating that, and really, again, go back to Psalm 139, verses 17 and 18. Look at those verses and really contemplate that and what that says to you and what that means to your heart. And I'm going to add a link to this post as well of a blog I wrote a few years ago that really broke down Psalm 139 to me as I personalized it and really made thoughts of what this entire psalm meant to me. It'd probably be a good idea to sit down and do it again. Honestly, that was in 2015 when I did that. So there's been a lot that's happened since then. So, but I'm going to share that post just to give you just a little something that I had thought about in the past around this. So anyway, thank you for taking the time to listen as I spend a few minutes just really contemplating the Lord, and then I just really want to share some of these thoughts with you. Remember, He is always with you. He has never forsaken us, never abandoned us in the hardest and darkest times of our lives. He is there with us, and we can always remember that and really appreciate that, and really turn to Him in those moments and surrender it all to Him and give Him the glory for how He uses those hardest moments. Thank you, friends, for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.